Okay, I'm here. It's time. I feel that I bit off a little bit more than I could chew trying to make these reaction videos. I haven't ever done a full reaction video before, so I didn't really know how much would be allowed to be included for YouTube to accept it. I think I was a little bit too quiet in my recordings. I didn't talk enough. No matter how much I cut it down, with what I had actually recorded for the first two episodes actually, there just wasn't enough commentary for YouTube to accept it. So I'm sorry that I didn't get that out to you guys. But given the fact that I didn't do much actual reacting because I was so engrossed in the show, you didn't really miss much. I'm going to go over all of my favorite parts of all the episodes, everything that I noticed, any theories that I have. We're going to go over all of it. All right. Before I get started on this, I just have to point out how awesome this entire show's existence has been for the Fallout community, which has absolutely exploded, no pun intended. There's new players in all of the games, especially Fallout 4 and 76, because they're the two most recent. People are having a genuine interest in this series that has not been present probably since Fallout 4's release. Lots of people freaking out, finding out about the weird lore for the first time. It's such a strange world Fallout is. It's not exactly palatable to everyone, but this show, I feel like, has shown all of the best parts of the Fallout world and universe and tone and overarching themes. And I think a lot more people are starting to get it, are starting to understand why so many of us love this series so much because of the show. If any of y'all are being gatekeepy, don't, right? Let's not act like we invented this game. And if you're a new player, just don't go to the New Vegas subreddit. Just do yourself a favor. It's just gonna make you mad and feel like an idiot. Just avoid it. Play the games the way that you want to play them. Enjoy the games that you enjoy. Every Fallout game is completely different. None of them are unplayable. Even 76 is pretty good now, if that's the kind of thing you like. Just enjoy the world and have fun. That's all that matters. Right. So, let's get into the first episode. So right off the bat, we get to see Cooper Howard doing the thing that he does best, which is being an actor playing the hero of his famous movie, The Man from Dead Horse, which automatically puts us into a state of irony, Fallout's bread and butter. Immediately, we are thrown dozens of references. Nuka-Cola, Grognat the Barbarian, sugar bombs, there's even a Sunset Sarsaparilla in one of the little baskets of drinks that the kids have. The radio, the way the radio looks, in addition to what's being said on the radio, it reminded me very much of the intro to Fallout 4, obviously, where you're living your perfect life with your family, living the American dream, and in the background, all of the media is talking about how the world is about to fall apart. Seems kind of familiar, and I don't mean the games. Other than the TV and radio having discussions about the world ending, we also get a glimpse at Cooper's own life, not exactly going the way that it should, when he poses with one of the parents' wives, and one of the guys, the fathers, ask him to do his famous thumbs up, which he immediately looks very uncomfortable about. Also, the fact that they mention alimony. He's no longer with his wife. He's trying to make himself look good for his kid, right? What happened with his wife? We don't know. One thing that I noticed after watching it like the fifth time was the weatherman on the TV, when he's talking about maybe there's not going to be next week. In the background, you can actually see the map of the country, not broken up into the 50 states, but it's broken up into the Commonwealths, which is lore accurate and a very good detail. And then, when Cooper is talking with his daughter, he discusses the idea of the thumbs up, which I was surprised to hear this being told as fact in the Fallout world, considering it's been over a decade since the original founders of Interplay, specifically Brian Fargo, confirmed on Twitter years ago that the thumbs up that the Vault Boy does has nothing to do with the idea of blocking the cloud with your thumb. That was debunked as a theory. The fact that this show has turned around and immediately made that canon, I don't hate, because it's more of a personal thing for him. It's not exactly, this is the reason the Vault Boy does the thumbs up. It's the actor behind the Vault Boy has his own personal history with the thumbs up. So it's canon, but also not really, because it's just one guy's idea. Nobody else in the world would know, except his daughter, what that means. They do a very good job of showing the bombs falling, with the exception of the fact that Janie, Cooper's daughter, should have been blinded if she was fully facing the blast when it went off. She looked right at it. She should have been blinded. I'm glad she wasn't. That is technically not accurate. That's okay though. You have to suspend your belief for this entire series. It's a very cool sequence, watching Cooper ride his horse away with his daughter on the back. And I noticed, I assume this was done intentionally, because everything in this show seems very intentional. The theme that is playing behind him, the instruments are very brassy. I don't know the exact instrument. Maybe it's a tuba, trombone, combination of all of them. It's the tone of the instruments is exactly the same as the Fallout 3 main theme. The melody is completely different, but it is the same sound. Fallout fans will pick up on that tone immediately and attribute it to the games. We're done with the intro, the end as it is called, and we're immediately thrown into Vault Life, which was done so perfectly. Right off the bat, what's the first thing you do when you start a Fallout game? You pick your attributes. Lucy proceeds to list her special attributes. All of them. I wouldn't consider it a one-to-one. She does list 7 skills or extracurricular activities in which she participates. The special stats for the main characters have been released, the official stats, that is. Her strength is only 4. The fact that she's in fencing team C kind of tells you her strength is not very good. She's not at the top of her class in fencing. She has a charisma skill of 5. She is a teacher. Maybe not the best use of speech skills, right? Her intelligence, 6. She says her science skills are good, not as good as her dad. I think she's pretty good. Her perception is 7. Her highest skill is perception. And what is the best thing that we see her do in this beginning sequence? She nails the bullseye on the target in her rivalry class every time. Despite her being humble about it, saying she's not very good, she is good. And I love that her special stats directly inform what her actual life skills are. It's a very good representation of that system. Another little tidbit that I noticed during this sequence, when she's talking about her personal time spending with her dad, what movie are they watching? The Man from Dead Horse. Why would her dad want to watch that movie with her? Maybe it's because he's a big fan of Cooper Howard. I don't know. I thought it was hilarious that she mentioned messing around with your cousin. They mention it multiple times, one of which being messing around with your cousin is fun for kids, which is crazy, but it's Fallout. Then we see the wedding dress, and I love how they did this. It's one wedding dress that has been used for over 200 years by the people of this vault, and they sign it each time they get married. I think that's exactly how it would happen in a vault like this. I don't think they would have a dress for everyone. For a brief moment, we actually do see the syringer pistol locked up in a glass case. I believe that's a direct reference to the cryolator gun from Fallout 4, which you see locked up in a case in the vault, but you are unable to, in most cases, unlock it because your lockpicking skill is not high enough. Then we get a full look at their common area, the farm, where they have all of their major vault events. When I was watching the trailer, I believed that this was being used as an ad for the vault, but no, in reality, this is their vault. The projector is simulating life on the Nebraskan countryside. We don't see anything like this in the games, but I mean, what can I say, you know? That's exactly what it would look like. It all makes sense. The irony of Lucy discussing her mom with the dad is obvious. Whenever I was watching it, this was when I was starting to put together that they were going to go to another vault, and I had never heard of somebody traveling to another vault without having to go outside onto the surface, because it had never existed. I was very confused when I heard this. I was like, how are they gonna go to Vault 32 without infecting themselves on the surface? That's not how it works. But then we see it's a direct tunnel to the other vault. They just keep themselves separate because that's what they're told to do, despite the fact that Vault 32 was going through starvation, allegedly. Their wheat had all died. People were dying of starvation, and nobody thought to just open the door. Given the way they are indoctrinated in these vaults, doesn't surprise me that no one would think anything of not simply opening the door to help their neighbors. I knew, and I think it was kind of obvious, that Vault 32 was immediately suspect just the way that it was shot, you know, from below, looking at them from behind without seeing their face. It was obvious that these guys had something going on, besides just their wheat dying. During the wedding sequence, when everyone's up dancing, just to add to this, nobody from Vault 32 was dancing with them. I doubt they've ever danced in their life, given where they're from, with the exception of Moldaver. I'm sure she's danced. I thought they unveiled the rotten nature of the Vault 32 inhabitants very well, very gradually, starting with the weird framing, weird stabbing food with the fork, not knowing how to use a utensil, the lack of dancing, the fact that Monty was chugging water and turning the faucet on and off like he'd never seen it before. Then obviously, when there start to be explosions and shots being fired, I loved Lucy immediately pulling out her Pip-Boy and using the Geiger counter, which I want to take a moment to, and I'm going to bring this up many times in these videos, the sound design on this show was absolutely phenomenal. Every single sound effect, as if you were playing the game, it was pulled directly from the game. The Geiger counter, the sound effects of the Pip-Boy, and then in this immediate next sequence when she uses the stim pack to heal herself, the sound effect of that is perfect, not to mention the absolutely insane idea of a little injection curing you of being stabbed in the stomach. That's what it does in the games, you know? Just take a stim pack. You're good. You got your leg blown off? Just take a stim pack. The entire fighting sequence of the Raiders massacring everybody in Vault 33 was just perfect. They did not hold back on the brutality and gore. I think, canonically, everybody in this game has the Bloody Mess perk enabled. The fork in the eye, the shoving the barrel of the gun into the back of somebody's head and shooting 2 other people through the back of their head, awesome. The fact that Lucy rips open Monty's face with the broken pitcher and then he comes back, it was beautiful. The usage of Jet was great. I don't think they could have done that sequence any better. I think it was perfect. Loved seeing the different iteration of the syringer gun as a pistol, which we saw in the trailer before. It's very perfect for Lucy. She doesn't want to kill anybody, she just wants to subdue them, and that's exactly what she does for the majority of the show. I think a lot of people are starting to realize how good of a character Norm is. It takes a while for you to appreciate his skepticism. He may be a chicken, he is not an idiot. He suspected something was off with 32 from the second the door opened. I do feel bad for him that he later on has guilt about being hidden away in the storage container while Lucy takes on the Raiders. I don't think Norm's special stats have been officially released, but I guarantee you his perception is at least an 8, probably even a 9. In the scene where Monty comes back and almost kills Lucy, when her dad grabs him off of her, hits him in the back of the head with the shovel, drowns him in a pickle jar, I knew, watching this from the beginning, Dad has done this before, there's something sus about Dad. Anybody's played any Fallout games, a sus dad is pretty much part of the package. I like that they subtly, or maybe not so subtly, hint at the fact that her dad has some blood on his hands. We just don't understand how much. Very cryptic conversation between Hank and Moldaver as they line everybody up to be executed. The line, "Do they know who they are?" when referring to the vault inhabitants, that didn't really register with me the first time that I heard it. I'm like, yeah, she's just asking, like, you haven't really given them a true identity, they just live in the vault. I didn't understand at the time exactly the gravity of what she's asking. Now, having finished the show, yeah, I get it. They don't know who they are. They haven't a clue. And then she turns around to Lucy and tells her that she looks just like her mother, and I'm like, okay, yeah. There's a lot more going on between Moldaver and Daddy-O than we understood. So now we cut to the Brotherhood and Maximus. First thing I was thinking was, where the heck are they? It could be anywhere, really. I was thinking, based on what I've seen online, perhaps Edwards Air Force Base. I don't know if it's Lost Hills. We barely see anything about Lost Hills in the first game and what it actually looks like. We just see the one bunker entrance. I think it's got to be an Air Force Base of some sort, whether it's the Edwards or the one in Utah. I don't know. It's pretty on brand for the Brotherhood. I enjoyed getting to see the aspirants sit through training or school, I don't know what you would really call it, with the scribes, conditioning them to learn. And then of course we get the epic entrance of the Pridwin and all of their vertibirds. Now, I know that we were told this new ship is called the Keswinon, but you can see it says Pridwin on the ship. It's very light, but it's there. So this is the Pridwin. This is the ship from the East Coast that has traveled all the way across the US to California. As far as we're aware, Elder Maxim is in there. I think it's interesting that nobody referred to it by name, or the Elder by name. It's just kind of strange. But it was awesome, seeing all the power armor guys walk through, looking badass. Loved it. Loved every second. And this is also where we get our first hint at what Max's true passion is in the Brotherhood, which is power armor. That is what the Brotherhood is to him, is the power armor. His entire life's goal is to wear this suit of power armor as a knight. He knows everything about it. He can identify the model number right off the bat. He may not know how to identify a circuit, but he knows how to tell you what kind of power armor that is. I thought it was interesting how they showed the communication of an image through radio, having someone shade in grids. I also see this as a very non-secure form of communication because it's in numerical and alphabetical order. Anybody can intercept that and recreate it. I thought it was cool, the way that they did that anyway. I don't know if that's ever actually been used in military. I don't know enough about military to know if that's real practice, but in this setting, I think it is the best way that they would communicate images long distance. Loved getting a close-up on the power armor and the power armor station. Looks straight out of a Fallout 4 scene. I also see the double standard and the fact that Maximus, who is performing his duty of cleaning out the toilets, is treated so much worse than Dane, who doesn't want to do their job and immediately pulls Max away from his job to mess around and go look at power armor. And yet, who's the one that gets promoted? And I think the reason for that, truly, is because where Max came from. The fact that he came from Shady Sands, where the NCR was. I think the Brotherhood definitely has some bitterness towards him, even though obviously it was out of his control entirely. The scene of the Brotherhood aspirant initiate, I don't know what he was, having some alone time was so unhinged, but yet again, very on brand for Fallout. I'm glad we didn't have any super detailed Foley sound effects for that one, however. And immediately after, we see Dane getting promoted while Max proceeds to throw a fit. And I felt bad for him, but it was really funny to see him smashing a toilet seat on a tire over and over again while screaming his head off. Very tiny detail that I noticed during Dane's injury scene is the book on their nightstand. I was able to narrow it down to the Tesla Science magazine from Fallout 4, specifically the Geckos and Gamma Radiation edition. So I loved that little Easter egg thrown in there. So back to Lucy in the vault. Her first suggestion is to open the vault and go look for her dad. Where have I heard that before? Yeah, obviously the vault didn't like that. They immediately shot it down. So she takes things into her own hand, as vault dwellers do, and she escapes. I did like the scene where she's looking at the poster of the Vault Boy where it says, "Don't lose your head." And although she didn't know it, she was drawing strength and motivation and inspiration from the Vault Boy, Vault Tech overall. Obviously, she did not know Vault Tech's true intentions and true nature. However, that doesn't change the fact that she is drawing her strength and inspiration from the Vault Boy, who we later learn is Cooper Howard, or the Ghoul. So though she may not like it and may not know it, she is driven by Cooper. He inspires her to keep going without her realizing it. And I think by the end of the show, she does realize it and accepts it. The scene of her leaving the vault is exactly as it should have been. Very bright light, everybody yelling at you to not go, and then immediately getting locked out behind, skeletons surrounding the entrance, and we get the beautiful scenic overlook of the Santa Monica Pier, just as we did in all of the other Fallout games when exiting the vault for the first time. With the exception of New Vegas, we exited Doc Mitchell's house for the first time and got to see the beautiful desert. Back to Maximus, we finally get to see the flashback of him coming out of the fridge, and the first thing he sees is the power armored soldier as his savior, which is where his obsession begins. Quintus, the high cleric who is interrogating him, clearly recognizes that Maximus' entire life revolves around becoming a knight and living with honor, because that's all the Brotherhood Knight does, obviously, in his mind. And Quintus immediately latches onto that, and he's like, "I'm gonna use you, you're gonna be my puppet." It's just really grimy, the whole sequence of him interrogating Max. The "good boy" line was so out of pocket and disgusting, but that's the Brotherhood. I do find it weird that Dane did not confess immediately to Maximus that they put the razor blade in their own shoe. I think that's weird, considering how honest Dane is otherwise. But I'm glad that they at least acknowledged that Max would never do something like that, for Max's sake, to understand that not everybody hates him. Some people do still trust him. Then they name dropped the Enclave, and I got really excited when I heard that. As much as the Vault scenes and the Brotherhood scenes excite me, the Enclave and the NCR are the two factions that I really want to see the most of. And I'm hoping that because we don't see much about it in this first season, it focuses on them in the second season. Nevertheless, I got very excited when I heard them mention the Enclave. Some people have brought up the fact that the squires of the knights carrying the bag of all of their stuff is a reference to offloading your inventory onto your companions when you're carrying too much, but in this specific situation where you're wearing power armor, that really shouldn't be a problem because power armor increases your carrying capacity. It's still a funny parallel to draw between the show and the games, though, and I thought it was hilarious how eager Max was to be a good squire. And finally, we have the scene with the trio, Honcho, Slim, and Vicky. Real characters there. I absolutely squealed with joy when I saw that baby doll foot lodge into that dude's sternum and immediately see the junk jet. What an excellent weapon cameo. I remember shooting teddy bears out of the rocket launcher back in Fallout 3, and I love to see it being used as a legitimate weapon. Side note, the actor who plays Honcho is the same actor that plays Bubba in Forrest Gump. So the entire sequence of the Ghoul, I'm going to continue calling him Cooper though, I don't like referring to him as the Ghoul. The entire sequence of Cooper being freed from the coffin and proceeding to deliver all of the best one-liners in the show, and then obliterate the entire trio was awesome. I'm still trying to figure out what was being pumped into him while he was under there. I don't know if it is just some sort of Radaway mix, or if it's the exact same cure that he has to inhale daily to prevent himself from becoming feral. Not sure what that is. Also, who is Dom Pedro? We are given no other context on who this person is other than they like to bury all of their victims in the same graveyard, and that he's apparently a real tough guy. I think it's weird that they just mentioned him, and then that was it. We aren't giving any explanation on who he is. I can only assume that he's going to be back in Season 2, but we will have to see. So that's about it for Episode 1. I have no notes. I have no complaints. It was perfect. I'm really excited that the show has turned out as good as it has. But we're going to go through every episode, so y'all stay tuned for the next episode. I'm going to get it out as soon as I can. I've got a busy weekend coming up ahead of me, watching the entire show with my dad. He's coming into town just so we can binge watch the entire show in one day. Really looking forward to that. But I'm going to get the next episodes out as quickly as I can for you guys. And I have to mention, Fallout London was delayed because of the Bethesda Next Gen update, so I'm really upset about that. I don't know when it's going to come out, nobody does. We're just going to have to wait. I'm still going to play that game, that mod, in its entirety as soon as it comes out. Anyway, thank y'all so much for watching. Let me know your favorite parts from this episode. Let me know what you think of the lore changes so far. Any comments that you have, anything that I missed, please let me know in the comments. And I will see you guys for my recap of Episode 2. Peace out.